Alright guys, so we're going from itty bitty cast iron cooking to real big cast iron cooking. We're going to be doing a whole chicken with my dad, which y'all haven't met yet. Don't get confused, but this is Ken too. Kenny and Ken. So he's going to show us how to cook a whole chicken in a Dutch oven on a campfire. And then after all of that's done and over with, we're going to show y'all how to clean it up.
Okay, we're going to start off with about a 7-pound roasting hen. Not going to do a lot of stuff to it. It's going to kind of cook in its own juices. I'll keep some paper towels around so that I can wipe my hands. And what we're going to use for seasoning is something that can't tell you what's in it because I don't know. But I picked this up at a deli where they make great Cajun spiced chicken wings. And one day I said, sure like to have your recipe, and the guy said, I'll sell it to you. so anyway, that particular deli sells their wing spices in the bulk. So you might try them if you're interested to do something like that. Stop by a deli that you like their food and just ask them if they'll share some of their stuff, because a lot of times they will. And so I'm going to put some up inside like so. I'll turn this around where you can see. And then I'm going to put a pile down here because I don't want to get that contaminated. So I'll put this down here, and then I'll just take and slide it up underneath the skin like this. Now my wife tells me that I put too much of this in there. Then I just kind of rub it all over the skin like this. Just kind of cover it up. By the way, this cutting board is very clean. I disinfected this, scrubbed it down and everything else before we started. You got to get into it. Get messy with it. For those of you that are used to barbecuing and stuff like that, you know that's the only way to do it. Is just get into it. Okay. Now my wife has been preparing a stuffing for this chicken that her and my son Kenny have perfected. And so she made it, he tasted it, and so it's supposed to be just right. Now after I do that, I've got some Cajun injection stuff here, and I don't use a lot of this, but just kind of put a little bit in the legs. I smelled the charcoal getting ready over there. You don't want to start your charcoal too much ahead of your cooking, or you'll run out of charcoal before your stuff gets done. It's another thing about cast iron cooking. The cast iron holds the heat so well that if something does happen, like you start running out of charcoal and everything, you can always add some charcoal as you're still cooking. This is the dressing that we're going to be using. It's a simple cornbread dressing, but I've never tasted any better. I was gonna just use my hands, but since you're filming this, I thought it. Now, what doesn't go in this bird, probably just put it in the pan. Well, if we've got a lot of it, we may start another pot. But I think most of it's going to fit. Nah, pretty close. The uneducated camper. It may look like a mess here, but I assure you, everything has been sanitized. And then I'm going to take these wings and just tuck them back here like this, so they're out of the way. And then I'll grab a piece of twine over here. Pull those legs up so that everything doesn't just run out. You'll notice this crock pot over here, well, not if you can see it or not, the crock pot, the cast iron pot, Dutch oven. The top of it is really rusty. As long as when I'm camping and I'm using these things on a fairly regular basis, I don't worry about cleaning that top that much because I'm going to be throwing a fire on it and it's going to clean it up. If they're going to be setting up for any time at all, then I'll go ahead and clean them. But Jesus said something about the Pharisees would go to great lengths to clean the outside of the pot and leave the inside dirty. Well, that's the inside of the lid that we're going to be using, and there's the inside of the pot that we're going to be using, so you can see that it's very clean. I've got one over here that got left out in the rain a day or two, and it's pretty rusty, and I'm going to show you how quick you can clean them up. One thing you can do once you learn how to clean them is go to garage sales and people stick them out there all rusty and everything. They think they can't do anything with them, and in 20 minutes you can make them as good as new. I'm gonna put something in here that a lot of people don't think they would probably need, and that's a trivet, and that'll keep the bird from sticking to the bottom so much. Set that down in there like that. We got it seasoned as much as we're going to season it. So now we're going to go ahead and put it in here and get ready to set it on the fire. Watch out. Okay? Yeah. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how many I have on here, but it's the amount I want. You'll read in books that'll tell you, like have 10 on the bottom, 19 on the top, and stuff like that. And those are just, I think it's kind of a guide. I don't think they're actually just making stuff up. It's just kind of a guide. But the thing is, if it gets too hot, you can take it off If it's not hot enough, you can add some to it. This is a combination tool right here, if you didn't know. And if you don't have one and you're going to do some cast iron cooking, you should get at least one, because the pot that we're using today doesn't have legs on it. So this is going to be the legs for the pot. The other thing is, if you don't have a lid lifter, this thing can be a lid lifter as well. So we do have a lid lifter today, so we won't be using it for that. I'll just leave this one off to the side to set my big lid on while I'm tending to the chicken. There's our seasoned and stuffed chicken. I have not put any water in there yet. If it starts getting a little bit dry in there, I'll put a little bit in there, but I don't like to put too much water in there. We don't want to steam this chicken, we want to roast it. Gonna put the lid on, it's clean on the top. I like to put my ashes around the edge. If you've been doing any cast iron cooking, you know that already. I'm just throwing that in. Because the heat will radiate to the middle. It's a big pot here. It's a 14-inch deep pot. I'm old, so I've got to squat down while I do this. And you absolutely have to have something like this, or to move your coals around, because you don't just dump them on there unless you're cooking with wood, and then you might just throw them on there by the shovelfuls, because wood charcoal seems to burn a lot faster, so you'll be replacing it quite often. Okay. Now, make sure it's straight on the bottom. Make sure that's not hot before you pick it up. And by the way, there's something else that's an absolute necessity working around cast iron after it starts to get hot, is some welding gloves. It's been 15 minutes since we put this on, so we're going to check it, and after we check it and see how it's cooking, then we're going to do two things. If it needs more charcoal, we'll put some on. If it doesn't, we'll turn the lid and the pot itself to avoid getting too hot in just one spot. This, by the way, is a lid lifter. Okay. It's running kind of dry, so I'm going to put a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan there, just to keep from burning up the pan. Got plenty of coals on the bottom. We don't need to add any there. The top seems to be cooking very well too. We don't want to burn it up. So we'll put it back on. That's about where it was. We're going to turn. That way. And then we'll turn the pot the other way, about a quarter of a turn. Okay. And then we'll check it again in about 15 minutes. Okay, it's been cooking for about an hour and 15 minutes now. It should be about between 30 and 45 minutes from being done. So we're going to take a look at it. It's looking good. Liquid's still in there. We haven't put any more liquid in it since we started. It's cooking up some good juices in there that'll make really great gravy. So I'm going to turn the lid a little bit. And hopefully we won't burn any part of it. That's the neat thing about Dutch ovens is you can turn the lid and keep one spot from browning faster than another. So, okay, we've added a few charcoal briquettes here on the top. Not so much to give more heat in there, but we had some dressing left over after we stuffed the chicken, as you recall, and we put it in a smaller oven. And so now we're going to set it up on top like that, and then put a few cubes on it. Woo, it's hot. And we don't want to cooperate. And we're going to be cooking that kind of slow. Right at the last, we'll let it brown a little bit. May throw a few more cubes on it, briquettes. But okay. Okay, and we'll be checking everything here in about another 5 minutes. I can smell the dressing cooking. Did you want to look at it?
I can see it.
Can you see it? Now this is going to be coming off here in just a little bit, not too long, because it'll continue to cook in that cast iron. Woo! How's it looking? Okay, 2 hours since we put this on. Let's see what it looks like. It looks to me like it's what you call falling off the bone done. If you want to make sure though, we'll stick a thermometer in. Where's a good place? We talked about cleaning up a Dutch oven that had been left out, and some would say abused and misused and that sort of thing, and if you want to believe that, go ahead. Some would say you should never let anything get in this shape, but if you do a lot of cooking with cast iron, it's going to happen from time to time. Thunderstorms come up in the middle of, that you don't expect, and you have to wind up leaving these things outside, but all is not lost. It's not that difficult to clean these up. And I'm going to show you one that's about as nasty as it can be, and we'll have it clean in 15 or 20 minutes. You can see the top of it, it's got rain all over it. And then down in the inside, can you see that? I think we had cooked porcupine meatballs in here, and got to eating and everything, and the rain came up, and got everything soaking wet. And overnight, they'll get this rusty. So anyway, I'm going to show you how easy it is to clean this thing up. First off, I want to say right off, please don't use steel wool or wire brushes or anything like that, a wire brush on a drill, any of that kind of stuff. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. And when you use steel or wire brushes or anything like that, you'll get a taste in that. It'll build up a taste in that no matter how many times you season it, you're still going to have the taste, that metallic taste of the food that you eat out of it. So I use these little bippy, I call them bippy pads, and I never throw one away. I begin scrubbing it with one that's been used quite a lot, because it's going to get dirty too. And so anyway, what I'm going to do is, this is rainwater. I'm going to pour it out, and I'm going to take the water hose and just kind of hit it really hard with a water hose, and then we'll come back. We'll put it on the heat for a little while, and then we'll go ahead and scrub it out. Pot down on a wood surface. If you've got a wood picnic table or something like that, that's fine. But we're going to be getting this thing hot, and it'll leave some burn spots on your picnic table if you don't have something else to put it on. I'm going to go ahead and, this is what I use to scrape my cast iron with. It works very well, and no matter how bad the stuff has been cooked on there, this will take it off. You don't want to use Comet or any kind of harsh cleansers on them, or anything like cleansers or soap or anything like that. We'll burn all the germs off. This particular pot here I've had for quite a while, and so it's got a pretty good seasoning coat inside of it. It's not really that bad, but a brand new, the newer the pot, the more subject to rust it is. This is one of the places that the gloves come in handy. I usually don't put one on the hand that I'm going to be scrubbing with, because I like to control my scrubber. So I just hold the hot pot with this glove here. It gets hot really quick, and when it burns my hand, I stop. Remember, I'm using the dirty scrubber. You can see that not using any steel wool or anything like that, just using a bippy pad, it takes it right down to the bright. And then all you got to do is oil it and season it again. I just take and dump about a half a tape, maybe a teaspoon, that much. And then I use my hand, because by now it's cooled down enough to do that, and the hand seems to cover things better. And just cover the whole inside of that thing. When we heat this, you don't want to leave any pools of oil in there, because it'll just cook in a spot and they'll leave you a bad spot on here. You want to get it all worked in. And if you can't get it all worked in with your hand, then before you put it on the fire, take a paper towel and run around it to get. I really don't like the taste of vegetable oil either, so burned or otherwise. Okay. So take a paper towel and kind of run around there. You don't want to dry it completely out, but just hit the big stuff off. And now, set it back over here and let it get nice and hot. Scrubber on it. dry that one off. We'll do a little seasoning on this, on the inside of this lid in a little bit. Okay, I've taken this off the fire. It's still a little bit too hot to touch, but just do the best that you can. It's way too hot to touch. In that case, just get a paper towel. This is the second and final coating of oil that we're going to put on this, because that's all it needs. And I put it on while it's still hot so it can kind of soak in to the pores of the pot. And the lid doesn't need any more curing. It's in good shape. It wasn't hurt from the water and the rain. It was the bottom side of the lid is what we use, and so we'll just give it a good rub down. And now, before I use a pot, I always go over it with a clean paper towel and make sure that you get everything out of it. But I want to leave some oil on it now, so I won't do that now. But before I use it, I'll go over it with a clean paper towel. The one that's cured, once it dry, it gets cooled down and everything, that it'll come out just like that. It'll come out clean. So just put it back on. That one's done, all except for the outside. And like I say, if I was going to put it away for a while, I'd go ahead and put some treatment on the outside. But since I'm not, anything you put on there is going to burn off the first time you cook with it. And so I just leave it like that until I get ready to put them away or sell them.